blissfully aware of the danger then. Nothing about the plane's movement that felt particularly unusual, save for some oddly erratic changes in engine. The cabin crew were well aware that something was amiss. For a second time, the flight attendant knocked on the cockpit door. This time, the flight engineer left her in. She could see in Rick's eyes that something bad had wrong. The pilots convinced her the control problem they had was minor. They had it under control. Still trying to find any way to use their control. The captain didn't want to yet. He told the flight attendant to walk past the front of the aircraft. This would shift the center of gravity slightly forward and may help get them down. He also wanted to close the possible emergency. As the flight attendant went back to the passenger, the pilots took stock of the situation. They were now halfway between San Diego and Los Angeles. They faced the top of the hill, where they tried to land the tree. On this night, the crew were in the top position by the north river, flanking the west, low cloud ceiling, heavy overcast. This pretty much eliminated Los Angeles, London, and El Dorado. San Diego, too, that the west, having made a legend. So, that left the airport, and they put the flight of the mountain. In particular,
I was wrong.
when the aircraft was actually assembled, and Edwards Air Force Base, which had a runway so long that it would go on to be a landing station. However, by that, the captain but inside the air, they would have to wait for the power pressure to be alerted.
Toilet just fucking god. Does she have does she have like a freaking a notepad with her? What are you reading this off of? Mm,
So, so
okay.
inside the tower, necessitated right that's the reason to that's worse. Actions also put them at risk of encountering turbulence, something which could render their already controlled aircraft completely unflyable. So, what pilots went back to the drawing
Huh?
it originally ruled out Atlantic because of the awful weather conditions there. But now giving it a second, they saw comparison to the other option had some unique strengths. It wasn't seen one, giving lots of attitude, experiment, growth. They set the pain with and what's more, they had run their grand quest, meaning that they did make it there, they could use it out of the sea. And importantly, it was an airport the pilots intimate. The captain, in particular, would be flying in a landing decades. He would know that could affect the airport. Even still, LAX was far from perfect. The winds on this night actually favored an approach from other side of the city. The cloud base was just 700 feet. The crew only sighted less than 60 seconds before touchdown. Visibility was hovering around 6,000 feet. It wasn't great. The pilots didn't have enough insurance. Los Angeles was the best bad approach. They radioed Los Angeles Air Traffic Control, declared an emergency, told them the control and requested a long, straight-in approach of runway 06 right. The controller gave them a vector to the north in order to set the range. The captain called the flight attendant back into the cockpit and told her to prepare the captain for an emergency. Given the dire state of the aircraft, both landing on water and on land possible, so the passengers and crew needed to be prepared. The passengers were then given a somewhat unreasonable day. safe, procedure, safety, landings, humans. They still had no idea quite how much danger. Now that the pilots had told both the air traffic controllers and the passengers, the only question left is how they were going to carry these intentions out. That is, how would they actually manage to land the correct plane? Often in emergency, the safest thing to do is to keep things as standard as possible. Work code over time, and throwing unfamiliar procedure can cause a problem. The captain considered what it might be like to land the plane as if almost nothing was wrong with its flaps at a standard setting, 33 degrees, and just a slight buffer, 10 knots, on top of the normal landing. But although this might be familiar, it presented a problem. He was afraid, given the lack of pitch control on land, when the aircraft got 30 feet around, air pressure would prevent being pitched. It reached the plane both forward. Another possibility was that the player woman that it raised was he reached 30 feet, reduced the rate that and this might lead to the plane time where to those two stop crashing down onto the air. And this was if they could even get the plane home. Because if it stayed the aircraft thing, its pitch being so effectively thrusted, the captain knew there was a real chance that if at any point he got low on it, a big thrust change would be needed to get the plane back to its correct speed. This thrust change might destabilize the aircraft, cause the pilots to lose control, crash. For this reason, when the controller often approached the opposite engine from a 2-4 lambda route, the captain used. While this approach had the advantage of enabling the pilots to use the city lights to orientate themselves, and while it had headwind instead of tailwind, proved that if they lost control of the position, that the engines, if they're going to crash, be out of. So, from a 06 right, else. McMahon figured that if he was going to be successful in getting his plane down in peace, he would have to set it up for landing slowly. He would need to use all incremental changes to configuration, trust, and if it's sudden, risk sending the plane out of control. But at the same time, if he took too long, he would risk running out of fuel. His aim was to gradually but efficiently get the plane set up for landing 22 degrees of flaps at a much faster airspeed than normal, 165 knots. This would give him the controllability he needed to find an approach. Once they started down this road, there would be no going back. Go round would almost certainly be later. So the pilots began. At first, they extended the flaps to 4 degrees. This led to the aircraft pitching down slightly, enabling the captain to move his control pilot back by about half an inch from the full stop. Whilst unsure, his progress was time. Encouraged by this, he extended flaps further to 10 degrees. This gave the aircraft even more pitch down, enabling the captain to recover another half inch of freedom from the controls forward stop. Again, it wasn't much, but it was the biggest margin of control they had. The nightmare began. Flight 1080 was now stabilized at 10,000 feet, 180 knots, 12 degrees of pitch, 10 degrees flat. What if, the captain asked, he could use the autopilot? Perhaps it would be able to gain back some more pitch. He tried engaging, but still did. The aircraft pitched up the that, the end of that. The autopilot killed. So, they had the aircraft set up for approach. Now, the challenge is to then. The captain pulled the throttles back slightly, putting the plane in shot. They could make it down to 5 hazard. They would be able to follow the radio out from the flight. Yes. As they set through 9,000 feet, and
Is he still alive?
from this point, they would
She's still alive.